Hello everyone, we are starting a startup, a virtual incubator. I, Kamya Pasi, welcome you all to an exclusive interview with a special guest for the evening. From RBS India to Fixofy.com to Companion and now to Corrit. This man has come so far in such a short span of time. Let's hear it from the man himself. Please welcome our guest, Mr. Mayur Mishra. Thank you so much, sir, for taking out some time from your busy schedule. Sir, we are very curious to know how you strategized and shifted towards investment banking after pursuing your bachelor's in aerospace engineering and paving your path ahead.
Actually had done aerospace engineering, and post that I went into investment banking.
Okay.
And in investment banking also my profile was of that of a front office guy. So that generally happens to have salespeople. So I just used that experience to optimize my journey into entrepreneurship. Even in the startups which I'm pursuing, my role is restricted to just the sales part and the finance part of it. So I'm just using the experience of my previous employment only. Yeah, baki technical and everything has been handled by the other teams. Yes.
From RBS India to Fixofy.com and now to Companion and then to Corrit. So if you would like to point out few things that you have learned from working in these organizations, what would it be?
Well, so first of all, Companion and Fixofy and everything. So each one of them, work parallelly. It's not that, I first started Fixofy and then went on to Companion and then to Corrit. Both Fixofy as well as Companion, they started around the same time in 2015.
Okay.
I gained my investment banking experience for over 2.5 years or so with RBS, of course, and across multiple geographies. But since I think September 2015, I have been into startup arena only. And Companion mostly into online social networking thing, which ultimately got sold off to another company, and which we exited. And now we are continuing with Corrit Energy and Corrit Electric. So those two are the businesses I'm building up. Both are focused on renewable energy. One is being focused on to solar power plants. The other one is into electric vehicles. With Corrit Electric, we are not just converting normal gas-based vehicles into electric ones, but also developing our own fleet of vehicles as well.
As you said that you have learned about that renewable energy from these companies also, but I know that you have studied about that from Stanford University also. So can you throw some light on that?
Well, I just did a certification from Stanford. So that was because when I'm starting a business, it's very important to know the basics of, the business you are going into. So that purpose, and of course, it was not practical to get into a college again after 3 years of break and, take a break from the entire entrepreneurship. So that was the idea. I visited, a lot of websites and colleges and did my own research before actually choosing up that course. The faculty as well as the course need to have the crux so that your understanding is good. So that's the reason, I applied for Stanford and hence I got the, admit as well.
So, sir, what's the story behind your name of company?
Well, it's a funny story. I'll just be restricting myself to Corrit. Well, we were trying to get domain of .com. I think it's very important when you're starting up a business. Your domain is pretty good. So you never know. When the business is growing up, you would want to have .com because easy. While trying to get your digital marketing done perfectly. All the SEOs and all, .com helps out big time. So we were actually trying to come up with it. There's no story behind it. We were only trying to do some permutations and combinations around, what names we can get. So it was a name floated by a friend that probably we can try something as corrected.com. So we just merged it together and that's how Corrit name popped up. That's the story.
So, sir, please share your value proposition. Like instead of buying an electric car, one should get directly why should one get fuel's car directly converted into an electric one?
Well, the biggest reason everyone of us here would be having one car or the other. If today for example, if you got your car probably 2 to 3 years earlier and you spent already close to 6, 7, I'm just taking average numbers, 5, 6, 7 lakhs, whatever. I'm sure if I ask you to again spend 15 lakhs or 20 lakhs to get a new car, it would be a big challenge for anyone.
Yes,
and
sir.
of course, you can also not leave your existing cars, because and then what will you do with those things, right? So that was the idea, and specifically with the a country like India or all the countries of Southeast Asia, it's a very general problem of having too many cars on roads. So you can definitely not afford to have an electric car as well as a normal fuel-based car as well. It is only going to pollute the system. It would be a mess out there on the streets. So that was the reason, we actually worked on this idea, probably you have to just get converted. The second reason is, of course, electric cars are very expensive right now.
Yes.
If you start with, I think with Tata Nexon starts with around say 17 odd lakhs in NCR area. So that's not a good feasible option. Whereas if you're going with a convertible kit, it's only going to cost you around 5 lakhs to 7 lakhs.
Okay.
So the cost comes down by 60 to 70% on numbers. Plus the recovery period is also, so if you're spending on fuel, if you are supposedly if you are using your car for around 10,000 kilometers, you will be spending close to what? मेरे ख्याल से 70 से 80,000 रुपए, 70 to 80,000 on your fuel per annum. So if you just extrapolate it to 5 years, that would be 4 lakh rupees or 5 lakh rupees, whatever. So with that fuel, the amount you are going to spend on your fuel, you can actually afford that kit. And with lithium-ion batteries and all, so I hope you guys have a fair amount of idea about lithium-ion batteries. They have a life of close to 7 odd years. So with just the amount you are going to invest on your fuel, you can actually afford that kit to get your car converted. So that was the idea. And we actually started with this product focusing on B2B fleet. If you look around, and you will find a lot of your Tata Aces, Chota Hathi, and all these vehicles. Now, the owners of these vehicles actually make a lot of money. They make 25,000 to 30 grand every month, but they end up spending 18,000 to 20,000 just on fuel. So basically, it's barely any money they save at the end of the day. However, if you ask them to purchase a new electric vehicles, first of all, there is no, loader per se, which runs on batteries. So if they convert their Tata Ace from, fuel-based economics to electric vehicle, they will end up saving much more. Probably from 10,000, it will rise up to what, 25,000, because there's barely any maintenance as well. So that was the idea. That was the value proposition.
So you chose the smart way, because they are not, like getting profit at the end of the day. So you chose the smart way. I think
that's
fantastic.
It should be a smart way for them if they decide to take it.
What makes your services different from your competitors?
Well, I think there's just one competitor out there in the market right now. That's a company based out of Hyderabad. And in terms of differentiators, I would actually not prefer to have too many different differentiators right now, because it's a very nascent technology to begin with. I think at the end of the day, we have to all rely on the, the life which the product has given, but it's too young a time to actually come on to that point. So it would be very unfair if I tell you that, my product is better than that company's product, because both of us have the same engineering. Probably 3 years to 4 years down the line, we actually, and then again, customers' feedback would be the actual differentiator.
Sir, recently, as you know, that government has been pushing electric vehicles. So what are your thoughts on it?
Well, it's very constructive to begin with. Setting up a budget of close to 10,000 or CRs, it's a major step. And I think our transport minister, Mr. Gadkari, has been doing a really good job with that. And all these schemes launched. So first of all, to even bring that culture where people can, afford or will prefer to buy electric vehicles, one is, of course, cost part of it. But the second part of it is charging stations. So now right now we don't have any bit of charging station say infra with us right now. So it was very important for the government to first a limelight on that, and a lot of subsidies have been also launched. In fact, Delhi government has also launched a very favorable scheme for electric vehicle buyers. There is that's an engineering thing which I can tell you. For every kilowatt hour is the unit of batteries.
Yes.
There will be 5,000 rupees a subsidy. So supposedly, if you are investing say 4 kilowatt hour battery, you tend to save 20,000. So for a two-wheeler vehicle, which is roughly costing you around 70 to 80 grand right now, you get 20,000 in form of subsidies. So yeah. So government is doing a lot of good things. I think next 4 to 5 years are going to be very crucial. China is running like a horse in this race also, but hopefully we will be catching them also.
Okay.
Yeah.
So do you think we will catch them till in the coming 5 or 4 years?
Well, 5 to 4 years are definitely not going to happen, because they are probably already 10 years ahead of us. So yeah, it is going to take a lot of time.
It's still emerging in India, right?
Yeah, see, the major reason is because we don't produce lithium ion. For batteries we have to depend on foreign resources. We don't have that's a drawback, you can say. We don't have that resource, so we have to fall back upon foreign resources. And China has plenty of them. In fact, USA also exports from China. Largest supplier is Panasonic, who does it for Tesla.
Okay.
You heard of Tesla?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
So, sir, where do you get these resources from, which you're talking about, like lithium ion?
We get it from, there are manufacturers, there are assemblers, because lithium ion cells are probably exported by almost all the companies, if not, by everyone. So they export cells and they do the entire assembly over here. So yeah, so there are a lot of companies who do it.
You said that it's rarely available. So did you face any problem regarding that? Because a thing which is rarely available, that also must be expensive, because it's rarely available.
Yeah.
So companies might be charging you a huge amount of money.
Yeah, it is expensive. So 60% of the cost probably for every electric vehicle goes towards just the batteries.
Okay.
That's why it's so expensive, but it is falling down rapidly. It's not just, it's rarely available, but I think it is not properly explored as of now, because earlier it was, no one used to pay attention to lithium ion. Only when Tesla bought it to, limelight, only then people started to actually pay attention to it. So right now, there would be a lot of countries like Cuba, etc., which are, probably not that famous, but they have a lot of resource. Even in South America also, there have been news that a big resource is found for lithium and etc. lithium. So yes, people are exploring, but I think over a period of 4 to 5 years, the prices will fall down rapidly. I think the trend is same as of lead acid batteries. So if you remember, I think 10 years before, we had inverters. All of us had inverters.
Yes,
and the lead acid batteries used to cost a moolah, 7 to 8 grams for every single battery. So now they have reduced drastically. So same trend is with lithium ion also. Earlier it used to cost close to 20,000 for every kilowatt hour. Now they have reduced to 12 to 14,000, and the trend is only going down. So you can see them coming to lead acid's price probably in another 4 to 5 years.
What problems did you face in the whole process of setting up your startup, like converting ideas into business?
Well, the first and the most major problem probably for everyone who wants to start a startup is gathering a good team. Because it is going to be a topsy-turvy ride, irrespective of how resourceful one resource is. It's actually not going to work if all of the team members, at least the core part of it, is working on the same thing or with the same attitude.
Right. So,
well, you cannot expect everyone to be, having the similar personality trend, but it's very important that they have the, what I can say, synchronized characteristics. So supposedly there are 4 people or 3 people starting. If one is good with the engineering part, the other one has to be good in sales. Like if all 3 of them are good in engineering, who is going to do the sales part, or who is going to look after marketing? So that's also very important. And yes, being transparent with each other as well. Plus, of course, there would be a lot of things. Everyone knows that having enough money to start this startup, having a sufficient runway to, run it. Before you actually, if you are into jobs and you decide to leave a job before starting up, it's actually not a good idea to start just without doing your market research or without gathering enough data or feedback from the customer about your product.
Okay.
Yeah. So team building, I think, is the most challenging exercise, and everyone has to spend significant time and think through that process.
But so, as you mentioned, that market research is also important.
Yeah.
So, how did you do that? So, like, how did you perform your market research, and how did you know that what customers want, and how did you attract your customers?
Well, that depends on business to business. So, for example, if I pick my solar business, the biggest research what we conducted was, so there is an area called Manesar here in NCR, where Maruti. It got famous when Maruti started its manufacturing plant over there. There would be a lot of factories and industrial setups over there. So when you're doing your market research, it's very important to know who are your target customers going to be. So supposedly tomorrow you start to launch a cosmetic brand. It's very important for you to know that who are going to be your target customer, and accordingly you will have to approach those set of people and ask what are they using currently. What's the drawback with the current offered products? Is the price high or low? What is their expectation, or is there anything new which is going to be added probably? So these are a few questions probably you have to ask them, and then accordingly set the pricing, set the product or the engineering part of it. Yeah. So when we started to do this retrofitting exercise, we actually went to probably every single transport locality over here in NCR, and then the first thing what we had to ask them was, what's the basic challenge, with the logistics, with your car, what you use. So so right set of questions with the right crowd, and it's not a very challenging per se because you would always know what set of people are going to buy your product. As I said, if you are launching an ice cream parlor, the first thing which would come in your mind is that children are going to buy your ice creams. But certainly children are not going to tell you what flavor or what's the side effect of existing ice cream probably, but their parents could tell you, because they have, at the end of that, they have to spend the money for the ice cream.
Yes, sir. So, sir, how do you market your business to clients, and which tactics you think that have been the most successful?
Well, I think that's a very hit and trial method, to each his own. But we spent a lot of money on all the platforms as well as physical marketing as well. But eventually, after running the ads on probably all the digital platforms for around 18 months or so, we realized probably Google is the platform that brings us most of the clients, because Google is a platform where need-based clients are originated. Now I'll tell you that how it happens. So supposedly, if you're marketing your product on Facebook, tomorrow even I can see cosmetics ad, but they are useless to me because I'm not going to buy any cosmetic products. But tomorrow, supposedly, if I have to, supposedly I'm talking about, solar power plants. If I need a solar power plant, I will go to Google and check who are the solar power plant EPC companies or engineering companies or suppliers. So Google becomes the most optimal platform for us because it is need-based. Facebook vis-a-vis, probably if you are building a brand, then Facebook should come into a picture. Supposedly, if I see a cosmetic brand by a name of XYZ, yes, after looking at that ad for probably 4 or 5 times, yes, I'll remember the name. So tomorrow, if you tell me that you use XYZ brand for cosmetics, okay, I'll know, that, okay, that brand you use, probably that is good because I've heard the name. But not with all the sectors. As I said, depends on your product, what sort of marketing you have to do. If your product is entirely service based, certainly you need not spend a moolah on marketing at all.
Okay.
It's just that you have to do probably a lot of cold calling and then reach out to your clients and just tell them what you offer. Supposedly, if it's a CA services, it's a very foolish idea to run your CA services ads on platform like Facebook or Instagram, because
Yes.
No one is going to take it.
Since you mentioned that it's a hit and trial kind of method,
Yeah.
so if you did that, so please elaborate if you faced any issues with that, or if you faced any loss with that, and how did you manage to, make up to that loss?
Yeah, I think everyone is going to suffer a loss at hit and trial method. That's the entire meaning of hit and trial. I think we burnt close to 4 to 5 lakhs just on just dial marketing, because a lot of leads actually came, but probably just 1% of them had any value and 0.1% got converted. When you sit back on it, it's not that you're not going to mistakes also with those. Sometimes your gut feeling is, hey, we should continue with this, but you have to be very flexible also when running a company. You should keep your ego aside when taking decisions for your company. That's very important.
Right.
You can be wrong at a lot of places and a lot of times, but you should be open enough to accept those. Even an intern can come to you and tell you that this thing is wrong, but a lot of people actually don't take that positively, but they would realize at one point of time if it is actually wrong. So you have to respect everyone's opinion.
How did you raise the funding for your venture?
I think we have just raised the seed round as of now, and that was raised in 2015 itself. And that was primarily through my own network from investment banking background. So it's, when you are starting up something, probably the first round should always come through your friends and family, because they would not be asking you a lot of questions. They are approachable, and third thing is, even if you commit a mistake, you will not feel too guilty about it, because you're only learning. You're a first time entrepreneur, you're bound to make mistakes. If you just reach out to financial institutions, or first of all, financial institutions are not going to entertain you because there's no history to judge from. And with friends and family, you can take in tranches also. Probably you can start with just 1 lakh to form a small office. You don't even need to rent out office for first 12 months. A lot of people actually find it very fancy. Even we did that mistake. We used to pay a lot of rent initially, but later on we realized we don't even need it. Just psych that you need to have a very fancy office. But that's not true actually.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's very important also that when you are first 18 months from the date of your startup, you have to run at least 2 to 3 pivots if possible. Or if not, because of course, if some product is being launched perfectly fine, it's not that you change it unnecessarily. But if you feel there is a room for improvement, just hop onto it right away and do all the changes as much as possible within the first 18 months. And then you pick the most favorable one, make the changes as much as possible, and then work on it.
I'm going to give Yashanshi some time, because she told me before the interview that she wants to ask a lot of questions from you. So over to Yashanshi.
Yeah, thank you, Kamya. So as per the recent news, many foreign companies are coming in India and setting up their production also. So does this affect your business? And if yes, how?
Well, that actually doesn't affect our business per se, because it's actually only, what I can say, educating people about it, electric vehicles. Secondly, well, at least as of now, there's no competition for sure, because it's actually good that, a company like Tesla is going to set up their production unit. Even governments start to take it seriously only after them. So that is, utmost important. Second of, even the investors, purchasers, and probably all these stakeholders, the number and volume would increase rapidly once they realize that, a foreign giant like Tesla is actually planning to venture into India. So it's, if I have to give one word answer for that, no, it doesn't affect. Actually, it's beneficial.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what entrepreneurial insights have you discovered to keep yourself focused and productive in a day-to-day schedule?
Well, it's, as I say, it's a roller coaster, right? So there is no particular tip for sure. There would be a lot of them. There are days when you learn a lot of things, but there are days when you are just depressed of probably some failure. So talking about some respective points, when you try on to something and for desperately for a long period of time, and ultimate achieve success on that part. I think that's when you get the ultimate kick that, okay, I can do it. So that motivation level and enthusiasm should always persist.
And we are eagerly waiting for the answer of this question. Okay, the next one is, according to you, what is the most important parameter that influence whether a startup will succeed or not?
How much they are open to accept clients' feedback or customers' feedback. I think that is the only deciding factor. I mean, most major factors. You have to just reach out to customers, speak with them day and night, bother them with the feedback. If they've purchased a product, just be candid with them and be very open to accept negative feedback. In fact, more the negative feedbacks, the lesser with your struggling period. I can tell you that.
And what is your key tactics to reach out to your customers? The recent news, many foreign companies are coming in India and setting up their production also. So does this affect your business? And if yes, how?
Well, that actually doesn't affect our business per se, because it's actually only, what I can say, educating people about it, electric vehicles. Secondly, well, at least as of now, there is no competition for sure, because it's actually good that, a company like Tesla is going to set up their production unit. Even governments start to take it seriously only after them. So that is, utmost important. Second of, even the investors, purchasers, and probably all these stakeholders, the number and volume would increase rapidly once they realize that, a foreign giant like Tesla is actually planning to venture into India. So it's, so if I have to give one word answer for that, no, it doesn't affect. Actually,
okay.
It's beneficial.
And what entrepreneurial insights have you discovered to keep yourself focused and productive in a day-to-day schedule?
Well, it's, as I say, it's a roller coaster, right? So there is no particular tip for sure. There would be a lot of them. There are days when you learn a lot of things, but there are days when you are just depressed of probably some failure. So talking about some respective points, when you try on to something and, for desperately for a long period of time, and ultimate achieve success on that part, I think that's when you get the ultimate kick that, okay, I can do it. So that motivation level and enthusiasm should always persist.
According to you, what is the most important parameter that influence whether a startup will succeed or not?
How much they are open to accept clients' feedback or customers' feedback. I think that is the only deciding factor. I mean, most major factors. You have to just reach out to customers, speak with them day and night, bother them with the feedback. If they've purchased a product, just be candid with them and be very open to accept negative feedback. In fact, more the negative feedbacks, the lesser with your struggling period. I can tell you that.
What is your key tactics to reach out to your customers?
My tactic for reaching out, as I said, we have to first do our market research properly. If my clients are supposedly located in particular amount of space, supposedly, because generally with industrial areas, they have dedicated space, so we have to probably reach out to almost all the clients, do our own internet research, which company has what all space is. With my particular company I'm talking about right now, what is their electricity consumption. A lot of things can just happen over phone. You need not even visit them personally. So you have to, again, as I said, ask right set of questions to your clients, understand what their need is, and then cater a solution, put it in form of a deck or in a form of a video or, in graphical content, and take it up to them. Yeah.
Okay. You say are the top 3 skills needed to be a successful entrepreneur?
Number 1 is persistence. Never say no. Second one would always be being disciplined. There's no good time to start or bad time to, start. But if you have starting your day at, say, supposedly 8 o'clock and you are, ending up at 10, you have to manage your time in a very disciplined way, because at the end of the day, you only have 12 to 16 hours to work. It's very important to be disciplined and, also categorizing your time. Not everyone can afford to be on the meetings at all the times. You have to categorize that only, okay, fine, you have just 4 to 6 hours to be in meetings. Rest of the time you have to again dedicate to, reading out emails, replying to them, working on your, financials as much as possible, strategizing, dedicating. So yeah, delegating. So yeah, all these jobs as well. And, when you are starting, specifically for all the entrepreneurs, you have to be CEO is not chief executive or chief everything officer, right from how caterers are doing to how the accountants are doing to how clients are doing. You have to keep a tap on everything. It's very important to be disciplined. And the third, which I would want to highlight, is your eagerness to learn. You have to have fair amount of idea of accounts as well as sales as well as marketing. Even though you are not expert of it, but you should have right knowledge to decide what is good and what is bad. So these 3 things, I think, are very important. And not that you can have that from day one, just develop it over a time.
What key activities would you recommend the new business owner to invest their time in?
Reading books. Don't invest too much of time in, watching a lot of videos. I would say definitely stay away from all the mentors. With all the mentors, I'm not saying, so there are some really good ones as well. But there are certainly a lot of people who just write mentor or enthusiast or evangelist. Just you will have to find your own set of people who guide you, who give you the perfect advice and work upon it.
Did you find the difficulty in coping up with your mentor's advice?
Coping up with my mentor's advice?
Yeah.
Well, yes, certainly. And I can also confidently tell you that, not that your mentor is going to be right all the time. And it's perfectly fine, because at the end of the day, only he is also wanting you to succeed. And in that, venturing out, you will make a lot of mistakes, and so could be his advice. That's fine.
Okay. What was your motivation when you thought of starting this venture? Biggest motivation?
Well, I'll be talking about Elon Musk probably when it comes to renewable energy. And it's not that, I only picked it up in 2015. I tried to actually copy his idea in 2011 in college also, but my HOD actually didn't allow me to copy his project. But since that time, I have been, actually running after his ideas. He's a big inspiration.
If you have to point out one key factor in Elon Musk that motivates you the most, what would it be?
His bring it on attitude. He tends to take the most challenging problems, he actually does it. And that's something, amazing.
Okay. How did your family reacted when you first told them about starting up?
Well, it's a very tricky question. Actually, my parents are not too supportive actually of starting up. The reason not being, having less fun, but it was more about, because everyone understands when you are starting with the initial few years are very challenging. So no one actually wanted me to come out of that cushy job and start up. So yes, so actually I resigned before telling my parents that I'm resigning and starting up. Only after I had resigned, I told them that, my notice period, I'm serving my notice period. I have started up actually. So my mom was supportive, but, I had to burn a lot of sweat while convincing my father that's fine.
Now, are they happy with your venture?
Well, I hope they are happy about my venture. Well, but that is some question only they can answer. Yes, I'm not able to give them a lot of time, because a lot of times even Sundays are busy. That keeps you busy. And yeah, but I think they should be proud of me. Only they can answer that. Yeah.
I don't know about them, but we are. Actually, you are the person who has broken the chains and decided to do something of your own. That's quite fascinating for youngsters like us.
Thank you.
What were the biggest challenges in your journey?
Biggest challenges in my journey? Well, there have been a lot of them. Sometimes you actually, as I said, from team building, there would be a lot of people who would actually just commit you to join and then later on back out to, you know, there are some customers who would make some unnecessary demands. And, you know, because you are starting up and you don't want a bad name in the society, you'll just say yes to them. There, you have to also learn to say no to your clients as well. That's again a very important skill, which I would want to tell you. Sometimes you just are lured to execute something which is out of your scope, out of your budget, and is going to eventually hurt your business. But at the time of commitment, you just say yes. So that is something which everyone has to realize as well, that there's a point when you have to learn to say no to them as well.
So, sir, can you please very precisely make us understand and others through our platform, how does one validate the idea in the initial phases?
As I said, the first thing, I think I've repeated this twice already, that you have to be in touch with your clients. That is the only medium of your idea validation. Even if you've sold your product to just 10 odd people, just go back to them, chew their brain up with what all their feedback is, good, bad, worse, whatever it is. Work on them, target them again and ask them whether they find any difference from the previous supplied product. So this is how you can, you know, validate. So of course, in a big ticket size like car, you can of course not tell them I'm going to supply you a car again. In that case, you just gather an idea from them and work on your product and probably take it to, you know, another set of customers. And then make a list of the problems or feedback what first set of client has provided and the second set of client has provided. Match them. If they are changed or, you know, if they are same, then you again have to work on it. And if they have moved on to another set of problems, cater in the same way. Yeah.
And how can a startup still be successful while operating in a tier 2 or 3 cities?
Well, you have to then meet the right product in right channel. Of course, you know, if you are trying to open up a luxury brand in a city like, say Kanpur, probably it will not cater to a lot of customers. But supposedly if you are opening up a milk brand in a tier 2 city, it is going to probably do a lot of you know, business for you if you reach out in a you know, right manner. So it's a product as well as the channel of reaching out to your customers. Then they have to both of these things have to work in tandem.
Okay, sir.
Yeah, right set of marketing, as they say, because supposedly if you are in New Delhi, probably newspaper marketing actually doesn't do too much of wonders. But if you talk about tier 2 and 3 cities, you know, newspaper marketing does a lot of wonders.
Had one piece of advice for an entrepreneur just starting up, what would it be?
There's a famous English thing: you fall 7, you get up 8. So that is the only advice I'm going to tell you. Just don't say no to anything. Nothing can bring you down. Just say yes to everything. If you want to achieve something, just go for it. It doesn't matter whether you fail or succeed or whatever. When people are judging you, let them judge. It's fine.
As you have bundle of experiences, can you suggest something to in startups like us, SAS community?
Startup advice. It's a tricky one because there are a lot of things are coming into my mind. So if I have to suggest just one thing to your community, would be to avoid burning money on something which looks fascinating to you, but actually is not. Don't spend on marketing unless you are 100% sure of, you know, when I say don't spend on marketing, you spend no money, but it's like don't spend your entire wallet. A lot of startups actually fail when they burn crores of money just into marketing. You know, you'll find a lot of examples on internet anyways, but you have to, you know, set budget for every single exercise and also with the pivots of it. Supposedly if in marketing you allot say 1 lakh rupees. So make sure on day 0 you have 25,000 allocated to 4 different types of marketing. Only then at the end of 1 lakh rupees you will understand kaun sa 25,000 mein fayda hota hai aapka. That's very important for you guys to understand.
Okay, we will definitely work on that.
Right.
And that's all from our side. It was a really interesting session, and we learned a lot from you in a very small span of time. Thank you so
thank
much.
you so much, guys, for your time. It was lovely speaking.
Thank you so much, sir.
Yeah, all the best.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, bye bye.
Thank you,
Take care.
sir.